Let's get started. Welcome back to the ScrubCast. I'm here with Wild. We did miss last week because Wild is busy with IRL things and has a life, unlike me. But that's all right. We have him back this week. Welcome, Wild.
Glad to be back. I only have a life sometimes, though.
Well, we got some big news today, don't we?
Yeah, got a sneak peek at some more stuff for Overwatch 2.
Overwatch 2 content finally. Oh my gosh, it has been way too long. Uh, Hopefully, we're gonna make the assumption. Pause. Okay, pause the. If you're listening to this on YouTube, pause it right now. Go watch the release trailer because we're gonna assume that you've seen everything. We're gonna have some spoilers, and once you're done with that, come back, and we'll be talking about it here. So, yeah, wow. What are you? What are the big things that you've noted in watching it? What are you excited for?
Uh, Three big things. One is we finally have a date.
Oh yes, huge something. Well, a date for what?
For the early access, I believe it is if you have an account, you can get into early access, as well as you get is it the legendary bundle,
Oh, I haven't
where
even.
you are you get a couple skins, a Doom skin and a Somber skin.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's
Oh yeah,
the
I see that here.
General and the Jester.
I actually didn't go through the what is it, the blog post that they released, which I probably will a little bit later. Um, Definitely that is super exciting. It's gonna be. Well, do you think they're gonna release comp with it? That's the big thing that we wanted with the beta.
If it's early access to the game instead of beta, I'm really hoping that at least the game mode of comp is there. I'm not sure how they will do MMR at that point or your SR rating, just because then it gets to some unfair you were in the game first, so you gotta play and climb before other people could get in, sort of thing.
Well, on the opposite side of that, would you be disappointed if they didn't release anything? Because we have seen. I'm trying to hold off on the other big news that probably most people will be excited about. But is there anything that you'd be disappointed that they didn't release at the uh, during the, I guess, early access?
Honestly, the biggest thing would probably be the comp game mode. I'd like to actually get into some longer games where you can really play it out and figure stuff out.
So it doesn't
Figure
feel.
out what works, attack, defense, that sort of thing.
And it's really interesting, just on that point, because I wanted to bring this up early on, that as like competitive players, that and as competitive, or just people in general, that's the one thing that we focus on. There is, of course, the new heroes. We are going to talk about that in a second, but we do want to know where we stand in comparison to all other players. The quick play experience is generally a little bit chaotic, as we've gone over in previous episodes, but we do hope, like, that's the number one thing, and Blizzard knows this. Blizzard knows that everybody that's playing right now is basically playing competitive, and even if they don't care too much about competitive, like that's where most of their core are. Hopefully, I don't we haven't seen the numbers of quick play, but definitely it feels like everybody that I know wants that competitive, that setup in this early access. But we'll jump onto this. You said there was a few things.
Um, the next one was that it's free to play. They're gonna
Yes.
make PvP free to play, which there's some good and bad that goes into that. However, like getting into the competitive games, skill levels are still going to be skill levels. Quick play's probably going to be pretty chaotic for a while as people's MMR gets adjusted for first time in the game. but that's pretty exciting. Getting
Oh,
into that and having new people into the game. It's
a,
not a paywall in front of it anymore.
a giant wave of brand new players coming in. I think that's actually really exciting for us, because there is always opportunities for Overwatch to go viral in other communities, where we get large groups of people jumping in just because the game is free and just because their content creator is hopping on for a day or two to see what new skins or whatever is on there. So I definitely, for the Overwatch community, is going to be great. It is going to be a little bit chaotic. New players are very unpredictable. So when we do see that, is there anything that you're really, really worried about, with the group of new players? And also, too, is there anything really that you're really, really excited about in specific?
Well, I'm not sure if you know this either, but I've been placing a new account, leveling it up. So I've been in with all those new players right now, and chaotic is an understatement. The I don't even know what to think about some of the games. I just keep doing what I do, and got my account placed. Almost. Still gotta finish up the supports, but I think having a bunch of new players is gonna be a lot of fun. I think it's gonna draw in a lot of people that play first person shooters and more of the in-depth games. Probably getting a big group from like the Apex scene and other battle royales that want to try something different. Having As soon as we get rid of that paywall, it really opens the window for all of them to be able to actually enjoy the game and have that openness to get into it.
Well, I think the low key thing that a lot of us long term Overwatch players are crossing our fingers for is, can you end that sentence for me, or am I the only one thinking about it?
Junker Queen?
Well, no. Well, this 1 second. Let's just pull it back. No, more of like the general ranking system. Hopefully, there's a wave that we can ride to a rank that's a little bit higher than what we used to be. What do you think about that? Because I do see a lot of people commenting about that. I do see a lot of people in lower elos, especially on Reddit, on the forums and whatnot, kind of just talking about that too. Do you think that we're going to be able to ride a wave to a higher rank, or do you think that people are going to be stuck at the same rank they were before? I know it's a big speculation. Or also, it doesn't even matter if someone gets to a higher rank at all in Overwatch 2.
I think initially there's going to be a little bit of a wave that you can ride, but inevitably the top players are going to end up at the top. And the biggest advantage that experienced players really have going into this is if you go look at a video of Overwatch from its release 6 years ago and compare that gameplay to what it is now, even looking at like top level players, top 500, it looks like what we would view as a plat game. So there's definitely going to be, with a lot of new players coming in, you'll be able to go up a little bit and maybe jump your rank up potentially a whole rank entirely, but I think inevitably your GM players are going to stay at GM, your Masters players are going to stay at Masters, and so on, just due to understanding of the game at a more experienced level, and they're putting in a lot more time to be at those ranks.
Exactly, at a fundamental level. Because anybody that's thinking, okay, I'm going to get to a higher rank because of Overwatch 2, like, okay, yeah, you'll be a higher rank, but there's going to be just as many people that are better than you as before, and potentially even more because there are more players in the game overall. And that is why GM players, it doesn't matter what hero they're playing, generally they're GM. Maybe they might be Masters. Most of the time, people have a rank that they float around because it doesn't matter what hero, they have such a fundamental understanding of the game, they're going to be at that rank. And so, speaking of playing different heroes, obviously those GM players will be playing a new hero too. Wild, you wanted to bring that up.
Junker Queen.
The junk.
Oh,
Junker Queen, a tank. Interesting. I saw the footage, I'll be honest, and I went, is that a DPS?
I've heard that reaction about 10 times today. We got a new DPS. Like, no. Which, right now, I don't think Overwatch needs another DPS. We need to fill out that tank line a little more, mix it up, fill out the
Absolutely.
support line a little more, mix those up. And she looks very exciting and very aggressive for a tank that doesn't seem to really have any barriers. Running with a shotgun and an axe is what it looks like. So you want that up close and personal. And I think it's having a mixture between the having a gun and then having a melee weapon is actually gonna, it opens the doors for a lot of other characters that they can create.
Like, what I think crossed that boundary was Doomfist becoming a tank.
Yeah.
The Junker Queen seems like one of those tanks that's just gonna be a damage tank. There's gonna be some. Like, while obviously we haven't seen too much, and actually there is a leak. There was a leak on her abilities. I'll pull that up here in a second. But she seems like she does a lot of bleed damage. I don't know if you've seen any of that before, but I'm okay with tanks having a lot of damage as long as it's not full-on burst damage. Because when you have something that you can't kill that can come in and murder you right away, and this is where they pulled Doomfist's power back quite a bit. You can't come in anymore and just one tap. Kind of ish sort of can, but he can't do the crazy one tap anymore as he used to as a tank. As long as tanks have that like general threatening presence to them, they can tank. You don't need a shield. You don't need to set yourself up for those kind of things. So, like, Wild, will you be playing Junker Queen? And what do you know? What have you heard about Junker Queen's abilities? And obviously, we have seen. You guys have seen the. Hopefully, you've seen the footage of Junker Queen. What do you think of those abilities that we've seen so far?
I haven't actually seen the leak that you're talking about, so I don't know her abilities in and out, and can only speculate on some of it. But if what you're saying with the bleed damage actually comes through, it's gonna definitely change up the way that you want to play tanks and the way that you want to play around your tank. If she's able to just put out consistent overtime damage, which we've been seeing a little more of as the game has progressed, with Ana's bullets or tick damage, and then you also have your dynamite from Ash, and adding another one with bleed damage here coming from a tank. That really puts any opposing supports into pretty high stress situations right there. Trying to keep up heals on something that's, it doesn't stop for a second.
I think things are going to be fairly familiar to like the Ash burn, which I think playing a lot of support is reasonably balanced. Like when you get hit with that burn, it puts you, it makes you think a lot about what's going on. Like you can't just kind of sit back and go, okay, I'm just going to heal whoever's taking the most damage. Everybody's taking damage, so now you have to like really pay attention to who needs the healing at that one specific time. Let's quickly go over. It's like this is 2 months ago, but this makes a lot of sense to what we've seen so far, and potentially this might have been, I don't know. But actually, they probably were making her a tank at this point. But what do you think of these abilities? I'll just read some out. So she has a scattergun. It says a sort of shotgun called the scattergun. This may resemble TF2 thing. She's got a serrated melee weapon, which has a bleed effect on every time it's used, dealing damage over time. An ability that acts like a boomerang. You throw it and call it back, booping the enemy that's on its way. Because this is actually, I think, a Spanish leak. That sounds like a Briette boop with a melee. Yeah, it looks like all of those things that she basically also has a passive. Where is it? Pull the passive up. Oh, I should have prepped myself before this a little bit more. I should have prepped you a little bit more. I'll send you the link here. I'm actually going to post the link with the video so that people can go in and take a look at it. But definitely the kind of passive damage tank is an interesting concept. I don't know. Wow, I feel like there's a lot more to talk about, specifically with that. But I also want to talk a little bit about the cosmetic changes and stuff we can go into that we saw in the thing. But do you have any more thoughts about the Junker Queen?
That pull ability sounds interesting. It being able to, if it pulls both directions, you can push people away, give yourself space, but you can also pull them in, bringing them into that melee range with your bleed effect right there. So that'll be pretty massive there to be able to get extra damage in and force fights when the other team is trying to group up.
Yeah, she seems like she might have like some small levels of CC that may not be stun, right? Like even that charge ability we saw in the replay, or so whatever it is, the little bit of footage that we saw, is definitely something that will force the enemy back and expose them into, so that your DPS can jump in there and finish them off. Potentially your Onyx can get an aid and all those kind of different things. So, anyways, overall, I'm really excited. It's really hard to talk about something that has only just a few seconds of footage. But I think maybe, hopefully, next time we'll have a little bit more information about her, official information about her, that we can go into detail about what we think about her abilities. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Next topic, I guess. Wow, that's a terrible transition.
Yeah, the only other thing that really caught my eye during that little video was the fox.
The fox, yes.
There's a little spectral fox running through,
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was
and
huge.
might be a hint at another character. Maybe.
I was taking a
This,
look
at
on
this point, it's all speculation there, though.
I was taking a look at the few frames that it comes up on my stream earlier, and it looks like it's an ability. I'll be honest. Like it looks like potentially I'm gonna make just a quick guess on it, that it's actually some kind of support ability that adds some kind of buff to your team as you walk through it. It would be very easy for them to have some kind of, I don't know, like astrally or like some hologram projected over something, that as long as your team is grouped up and in that specific space, that they get a speed boost or a damage boost or a heal buff or some form of whatever. It didn't show much more than that, but it does. It definitely, hopefully, as we are gonna cross our fingers, it is another hero.
I think you're 100% right there. With it's an ability from a new hero that we will potentially see in the future, but I think it fits perfectly with that buff debuff sort of support gameplay where you're not 100% focused on healing or doing damage, but you're really looking for like your Lucio with speed boost or mercy damage boost, that sort of thing. I think we could use a couple more supports that really play into that.
Giving
And especially losing one tank, we don't have to fully commit to the heal bot anymore.
giving us
So,
buffed combat zones is a really, seems like a smart idea. That's
yeah.
definitely referring to like Lucio. I think that's really smart, because it does give the team something to look for. So when they're like, when they're under threat, you can go, oh, where are the whatever this support ability is? Where can I jump into that? But also it puts your team in an area where they like, if they move out of it, they're technically debuffed in comparison to the rest of their team.
Yeah. And what I'd love to see is maybe that kit has multiple different animals that do different things.
Ooh.
Where you can have the quick speed boost to get into a fight, but then the next one that you pull out is just amplified healing or amplified damage or damage reduction. There's a lot of things that you can do there to really mix stuff up, and I think having characters that are able to change the battlefield itself and the effects that you get in an area, they really can turn the tides of a fight without anyone really noticing. Even looking now with Lucio being able to run over the enemy team because you amped speed with a Reinhardt and he can just run through them before they even have a chance to react. Or your Mercy damage boosting an Ashe for that single shot headshot.
I def
Those small things really change it up a lot, so I'm excited to see what comes of that.
I definitely think those subtle buffs that force the team to play together are definitely totally worth it. Like, for example, I'm not a fan of Briggs' passive healing, especially since you can't like deliberately heal people around you with it. You can go like, oh no, someone's near me is hurt. I can heal them up. But like Lusa, you really have to move yourself into a position to make sure that they're surviving. I think having the inverse, where like you now have to move into a space, is really, really smart. And as you're saying, changing the battlefield is something that we've seen a little bit of, even with characters like Mei too. We've seen a little bit of that battlefield changing ability, but that's something we haven't seen too much of in Overwatch so far. So more is definitely good. I'm butchering my sentences here. Sorry about that. Is there anything else you saw with that I honestly think the animations in that is beautiful. Like that is gonna be really cool to see if it's something that happens on the battlefield and isn't like I guess a PvE ability or thing going on. Like that's gonna be overall looked really cool.
Personally, even if it is just solely to PvE, the animations on everything look good. And playing in the beta, all of that stuff, and how it all felt, it was very smooth, very fluid. The game looks better. It looks like a new game, which is nice. Overwatch has been on the same thing for 6 years, and as all gamers know, the competition for development teams to keep up with standards is very tough. And Overwatch has done a decent job, but I think this will be a fresh start and we can actually get to see the game in a new light again.
It is really. Did you notice the weapon inspects? I
Yes.
I imagine there's going to be something where we can press whatever button and look at our weapons like Counter-Strike, like Valorant, like any game that has skins.
Yeah, and some of these weapons are pretty cool.
They're
Yeah, stuff like Lucio's gun that's shooting sound waves and Sims. I don't know if it's a gun or a particle cannon, but it's shooting light.
whatever it is, yeah.
So there's some unique and interesting designs that I think that's going to be cool. Being able to see that and look at stuff differently.
Like other competitive games give you a lot of personal expression. That like I play a lot of Counter-Strike. I like to reference Counter-Strike on this podcast a lot because it's something that I love how they've set things up, even though in some cases it's probably not the smartest way to do things. the like the ability to have your own weapon skins to murder the enemy team and then to show off your skin just to go look what I have and you don't, or show off your knife or show off your whatever you have, or to even have like there's the MVP award songs that you can have that everybody has to hear and listen to every single time, so you pick the most obnoxious one. I think that stuff is awesome. More expression in Overwatch is like the number one thing I think will bring a lot of players back and keep a lot of players for a long time, because right now I think the skin system and the loot box system is rather lackluster. Uh, the new skins though are absolutely gorgeous. Are there any ones, Wild, that really really stand out to you?
Haven't seen them yet, but I've been hearing a lot about that Jester skin for Sombra.
Yeah, I've seen. Yes, there's definitely. I love too. What I want to see more of are the team skins.
Yeah.
I think having being able to coordinate with your friends, being able to jump in before to select whatever skins before the game starts and to go, okay, we're playing as, let's go as the red team, or let's go as the undead team, or let's go as the whatever team, is like something that will allow people to create their own Overwatch experience. Because a lot of Overwatch, I'll put something to note. I'll just quickly, for everybody when they're listening to different Overwatch podcasts, whenever people bring on like casual people that love like the visuals, or they want to talk about how things look in Overwatch, they do get overrun a lot by the competitive guys. For example, and I'm not going to pick up the exact clip, I remember listening to a large panel on the Overwatch League talk about the new Overwatch 2 updates, and one of the ladies was going, oh, like, I really love the way the lighting set things up. I really love the way they use like certain animation techniques. I really love the way they use like, or they've redefined certain characters in certain ways and the way they've expressed themselves. I'm sorry, while I'm talking a little about it, but it's something I really want to bring up here. And then the competitive guys were like, yeah, well, that will make things really easy to see in competitive. So when you're going for that headshot, you can, like, line it up perfectly. And it's like that's not the focus. That's not the cool stuff I think that's coming into the game. Do you agree, Wild? Like, I believe there's a whole other layer to Overwatch that I really want to see in Overwatch 2 that I think we're all really excited for. Like, sorry, do you have anything to add to that? I've talked a little bit through there.
Yeah, when you break Overwatch down, there's really just two player bases. You got the really competitive guys, and they're the ones that are your Overwatch League players, coaches, or play on teams, or grind competitive all day, and they're very, very dedicated to the game and getting better. But we also can't forget that there's a very large casual group to this game. And I give some of my buddies crap all the time because they're playing on high graphics.
Yep.
And for me, I'm there for the competitive. I want to click heads and win games, and that's what I'm going to do. Not really looking too much at it, but they enjoy it, and they're just trying to relax and enjoy the game that they paid for so long ago, and better to them, honestly. I know a lot of people that play in the competitive side get burnt out, and we've got casual players that have never touched comp in the last 34 seasons that have played the entire time and have maxed out their levels.
Absolutely. They've done all the content. They've even, like, in many examples, they probably got many of the achievements. They've done everything they possibly can do in the game. So bringing those players back is going to be absolutely key.
Yeah.
Well, I do have one small complaint about the visual style. I'm a little worried the characters are going to be Flanderized just a little bit.
Yeah, that's bound to happen with anything, though.
Like, there's some cases where I think they've made the eyes just a little bit bigger, and it now weirds me out. It went from like being like semi-realistic with hyper colors to like, I don't know, they Pixar'd it a little bit too much, but we will see. I don't know, like, is that something you've noticed, or it irks me out a little bit? But is there anything in the visual style to you that is a little bit weird? I know we've all had complaints too about it being too orange. I know that's something that everybody has noted.
Overwatch. Orange is their color. But as far as just getting into that style, I came from TF2 to Overwatch, so
Some more orange
going
and
from going from the extreme of cartoony to Overwatch, which is a lot more realistic. I don't notice it too much, but I have seen it here and there, and I guess for that it's just going to be something we get used to over time. I
so
don't think that'll be a big turnoff for people, and if it is, then they might want to reevaluate what their priorities are.
so keep adding orange and
Oh yeah,
and
all
and,
the orange.
and until it's basically red and blue and just primary colors, and we just easy to okay. I like it. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. I think they can be a little more subtle with it in some cases, but definitely, you know, that's just my that's an opinion thing. It's totally one man's opinion. Um, that being said, guys, there is tons more. Like I say, I wanted to quickly jump through topics here because there's actually quite a few other small things that we could talk about, that we know is coming, but I think we're gonna cut it there. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out. If you enjoyed it, please of course give me a like and a subscribe. Apparently I'm supposed to put that at the very start and have buttons and stuff for that, but screw that, we're just gonna do it at the end here. Of course, patreon.com /scrub club, if you like what we're doing here. And yeah, we'll see you guys all next week, hopefully, if we have the time here. And we'll be doing scraps, Sunday scraps, in about half an hour, so I will see you all there. And I will kill the stream, or not kill the stream, but kill the recording right here now and go. Yeah.